Good morning, everyone. I am happy to see you all today. I'm always so happy when we get to gather in person. On this Halloween day, I don't know what it's like in your household, but it's pretty busy in mine today, pretty frantic, pretty excited. So I know that what I need is centering. And I ask for your energy and your peace and your groundedness. Keep your feet on the ground. Feel yourself connected to God's good and holy earth. Take a deep breath in. As we thank God for all of the small things of sunshine, of breath, of waking up today. And as we gather in this sacred place that is so special and so loved by this community, we know that we are gathering on a place that has been special and loved for generations. a land that has been worked on and played on and worshipped on and fought over and lived on by the helpful and speaking peoples. Here with Powhatan and the Malahat peoples. And as we take our place in this place this morning, we seek to be good stewards and good guests upon the land for our time. So, take a deep breath in, and let us prepare our hearts and minds to worship God. There was once someone who said such amazing things and did such wonderful things that people couldn't help themselves. They began to follow him. And the people who were following him, they kept asking, who is he? And one day, when the people asked, who is he? Jesus said, I am the light of the world. And so we light this candle to remind ourselves we gather in the name of Jesus, who is the light of the world, and calls us to be lights to the world. Before we move into our call to worship, I just want to do a little sound check. Are people hearing me okay? Or would you rather I use the lectern? Is there anyone who's struggling here? Put your hand up, if you don't want to. All right, awesome, thank you. Please join me in the call to worship that's printed in your bulletin. Come, you saints of God. Let us pray and worship the God who has gathered us here this morning. We have come. Our hearts are ready to give God praise. Come, you saints of God, you who are set apart to carry out God's work in the world.
We have come. We are ready to do God's will.
Come, you saints of God, remember all those who have gone before us, the faithful who have carried the torch of faith and lit the way.
We have come. We remember those who have helped us on our journey and accompany us still.
In the communion of saints, let us worship God. And we continue in prayer. We give you thanks, O God, for all the saints who ever worshipped you, whether in rush arbors or cathedrals,
Whether in wooden churches or crumbling cement beaten houses, where your name was lifted and adored.
We give you thanks, O God, for hands lifted in praise, manicured hands and hands stained with grease or soil, strong hands and those gnarled with age, holy hands, used as wave offerings across the land.
We thank you, God, for hard-working saints, whether hard-hatted or steel-booted, heavy-eyed or braver, blue-collared or three-piece suited.
They all left their mark on the earth for you, for us, for our children to come. Thank you, God, for the tremendous sacrifices made by those who have gone before us. Bless the memories of your saints, God.
May we learn how to walk wisely from their examples of bravery, dedication, worship, and love. Amen.
Before I launch into the reading, did anybody else think they were reading today? Nobody signed up. I want to steal your thunder. I'm desperate to read Isaiah. Our first reading is from the prophet Isaiah. On this mountain, the Lord of hosts will make for all peoples a feast of rich food and well-aged wine, of rich food filled with marrow, of well-aged wine strained clear. And he will destroy on this mountain the shroud that is cast over all the peoples, the sheet that is spread over all nations. He will swallow up death forever. Then the Lord will wipe away the tears from all faces, and the disgrace of his people he will take away from all the earth, for the Lord has spoken. It will be said on that day, Lo, this is our God. We have waited for him so that he might save us. This is the Lord for whom we have waited. Let us be glad and rejoice in his salvation. For the hand of the Lord will rest on this mountain. Here ends our first reading. The second is from the Gospel according to John. It kind of starts in the middle of the story. Jesus has been teaching, and his friend Martha has come rushing up to him with news. The Jews who were with her in the house consoling her saw Mary get up quickly and go out. They followed her because they thought that she was going to the tomb to weep there. When Mary came where Jesus was and saw him, she knelt at his feet and said, Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. When Jesus saw her weeping, and the Jews who came with her also weeping, he was greatly disturbed in spirit and deeply moved. He said, Where have you laid him? And they said to him, Lord, come and see. Jesus began to weep. So the Jews said, See how he loved him. But some of them said, Could not he who opened the eyes of the blind man kept this man from dying? Then Jesus, again greatly disturbed, came to the tomb. It was a cave, and a stone was lying against it. And Jesus said, Take away the stone. Martha, the sister of the dead man, said to him, Lord, already there is a stench because he has been here for 4 days. Jesus said to her, Did I not tell you that if you believed, you would see the glory of God? So they took away the stone. And Jesus looked upward and said, Father, I thank you for having heard me. I knew that you always hear me, but I have said this for the sake of the crowd standing here so that they may believe that you sent me. And when he had said this, he cried out with a loud voice, Lazarus, come out. The dead man came out, his hands and feet bound with strips of cloth, and his face wrapped in a cloth. And Jesus said to them, Unbind him and let him go. Hear what the Spirit is saying to the church. Thanks be to God.
No, we moved it away from you. It's all you, girl.
Thank you. I like to believe that the bulletin is a suggestion, but sometimes I forget my suggestions. I love the month of October. I do. I love October. I love the changing leaves. I love the blustery, blowy weather. I love the way the mist moves up and down the mountain, and the contrast of the bright yellow of some of the trees with the deep green of the evergreens, and then the mist kind of playing amongst all of it. I love the quality of light on sunny days. There is something about the Earth's angle to the sun in October that just gives it a glow that you don't see any other time of year. And I especially love Halloween. I love Halloween. And the neighborhood that we live in, it really plays up Halloween. There are amazing decorations that have been up for weeks. There are lots of families out trick-or-treating, even last year in the scary COVID times. My favorite last year, and I really hope they do this again, was there was one house that had children stand on an X. They made an X on the sidewalk, and they had to hold their bag. And the people in the house loaded up the candy in this catapult that they had built and let it fly. The children had to stand over the bag. And Claire went first, and she's kind of looking back at me. I'm like, I don't see any bruised children walking around, so give it a shot. I think he said that the people are scout leaders. Yeah, if you're watching, do the catapult again. It was awesome. So Halloween is All Hallows Eve. It's the eve of All Hallows Day, which is the old name for All Saints Day. The Salt Project writes that All Hallows Eve, or Halloween, is, of course, a carnival-like inversion celebrating the shadow side of life, ghosts and ghouls and such, just before the great festival celebrating the saints. Its deep roots may well include folk traditions of honoring the dead, appeasing evil spirits, and marking the end of the summer harvest, and the beginning, in the northern hemisphere at least, of the darkest days of the year. This time of year is a thin time. Thin time. The Celts had this belief that there are places on the earth and times of the year when that boundary between the living and the dead is a little bit thinner. The world that we can see and touch and hear, and the world beyond, a little bit closer. And this time of year is the thin time. So this is going to be a two-part sermon, Halloween and All Saints. Before we turn to All Saints, or All Hallows, I want to make a little plug for the holiday of Halloween, because it is such a fun night. So listen to this description of it from the Salt Project again. Halloween is worth thinking about. It's become one of the most popular holidays in North America, second only to Christmas. And at its best, it's a magical, playful night of community building and neighborhood making. From this point of view, we might even call it a sacramental glimpse, if only for one night, of how the world is supposed to be. Homes decked out in mischievous fun, doors opened to visitors of all ages, a spirit of wit and excitement in the air, and simple, sweet gifts given to children. All children, not just our children, dressed up as heroes and villains alike. Even, especially in an age of pandemic, when the night's celebration require wisdom and special care, the joys of All Hallows Eve are as precious and important as ever. It is easy to grumble about all that sugar and marauding teenagers and waste of time and so forth, but think of it. When else do we intentionally spend this kind of time together as a community? When else do we do something as a neighborhood that is this intergenerational, this open to all, this playful, goofy, and plain old fun? When else do our yards and doors open to so many? And when else are so many gifts given out, often by strangers, to strangers, just for the sake of delight? Isn't that lovely? Halloween as a sacramental glimpse of the abundance of God's radical love and chocolate. So tomorrow is All Saints Day, and the second is All Souls Day. And this is the Christian Church embracing or appropriating the celebration of the thin place, the salving of the Celts. The Christian Church decided that this could be a time to celebrate the Christian faithful dead, to all the ghoulies and ghosties and long-legged beasties, the things that go bump in the night. It's a time for remembering the people who have died, but who are not gone forever. And from this came the joyful picnics and parties with the ancestors that became the Dia de los Muertos in Mexico. You've seen Coco, the Disney movie Coco. Oh, I highly recommend it. It is so joyful and celebratory and talking about the life to come. It's based on Dios Todos Muertos. And we've kind of forgotten about that in our culture. But it is important to celebrate events such as All Saints' Day and All Souls' Day, because it's one of the ways that we as a church recognize how people who have gone before us have impacted our lives. And more than this, it's part of our tradition to remember we are surrounded all the time by the communion of saints who have gone beyond, celebrating all the people who preferred to light one candle and curse the darkness. Celebrate that death does not mean the end. We are still surrounded by all who've gone before us, their legacies, their contributions, their love, their support. And we can name our sadness and our grief that they've gone from our physical lives, and name their existence and what they meant and what they still mean to us. I was trying to answer my children's questions about this time of year. Rachel wanted to know how Halloween was invented, and Claire was curious about All Saints' Day. Specifically, why do we celebrate Valentine's Day on the day that St. Valentine died? These are the kinds of questions we have in my heart. And I realize that in these days of worry and fear and frustration, what we need is hope. We need hope. We need celebrations. We need little sweet treats. And we need to know that we're not alone, right? We need to know we are not alone. Our neighbors are decorating. The communion of saints is all around us. There are times and places where that boundary between what we see and what we feel we've lost is thinner. And we need to surround ourselves with playful, goofy, playful fun and remind ourselves, this is a whole sermon about quotes, that there are more things in heaven and earth, Horatio, than are dreamt of in your small imagining. And that's to be embraced. So on this Eve of All Hallows, I want us to tap into another tradition, one that names the people who are no longer physically with us, but are part of our communion of saints. It's a Latin American tradition. We did this last year. It's one of the few times we could gather. And we did this Latin American tradition that's strong among movements that work for justice in that troubled part of the world. Where when they gather, the names of the people who have died or have been disappeared, they're read out. And the people respond with the word presente, which means present. They name them, they say present, they're here. You are here. You are with us. You are not forgotten. We continue the struggle in your name. And so I want to tap into that tradition today. And I've asked you to bring mementos of people that you love and miss. And you had an opportunity to write the names of people on paper bags and place them around the sanctuary. And when I came up with this idea, it was dark outside, and so I was going to turn off all the lights and have them illuminate us, but the sun just made an appearance. Yay, sun, yeah. Not going to complain about it. But just think about it in your imagination. Think about these paper bags illuminated from within with the names of people who are loved and who we are missing. And I'm going to lead us in prayer where I will offer you space to speak aloud some names. Names of people you know and love and miss. And I will have some people and some groups and some places in the world. And when I pause, I invite you to respond with the word either presente or present. Okay? Does that make sense? We'll pause and you'll say present to remind us that we are here. We are here together. This is what we do when we gather to worship. We gather to be together, but also to remind ourselves that we are not alone. We live in God's world. And we are surrounded by the communion of saints who have gone before. So, are you willing? Yeah, if you're not willing, you just sit there and offer your own prayers. That's okay too. All right, so, feet on the floor, deep breath. And let us offer our prayers to God. Holy God, we come before you in prayer this day, thankful for the many blessings of our lives. We center ourselves connected to the floor, rooted in your good and holy earth. We still our minds, steady our breathing, and relax into your safe and loving presence. Breathing in peace and comfort, breathing out everything we need to let go of. Loving God, on this All Saints, All Souls Sunday, we especially remember people who have died. We remember places in our hurting world, living in places torn apart by violence, hatred, power mongering, who've had their lives ended too soon. In this space, we name individuals and groups and places and respond with present, presenting. All who have died of COVID-19. Those who are isolated, cut off from normal supports in ICU wards and not allowed to see family. Represented. People fleeing war and violence in their home countries who have died trying to find safety and refuge. Represented. People who have died through war and violence. Represented. Holy God of all creation, we are only one part of your beloved creation, but we have often forgotten this. We think of places in the world, a world you created and blessed and called good, but are groaning with pain and devastation of climate change. And so we name the people and the places that have seen death because of natural disasters. After each, we say, present. Those who died in the earthquakes in Puerto Rico, Indonesia, and Haiti. Present. Those who died in the hurricanes and typhoon in the 2021 Atlantic hurricane season. Present. The flooding in China, Western Europe, Australia, Sudan. Present. People who died in heat waves in Canada and Europe. We remember the plants, animal, fish, and creatures who are suffering, who are endangered, who are extinct. Endangered animals, ecosystems, especially ones destroyed by wildfires in Australia, California, and right here in BC. Loving God, we come to the tender part of our hearts, and we think about the people whom we love and who have died. Those for whom the grief is still raw and fresh. Those for whom the ache of loss is old and familiar. The grief we've learned somehow to live with. We name those people now in the quiet of our hearts or out loud, and after each name we say, presente. Loving God, all the people whose names you hear, we say, presente. O God, in this time of all hallows, all saints, all souls, the time the ancients called Samhain, my brothers and sisters in Latin America called Dia de los Muertos, we recognize the thin place, the thin time, where the boundaries are blurred just a little, allowing us to feel your presence just a little more. Oh God, in this time of grief that is fresh or familiar, we trust in you. We trust in your good news, your teaching through Jesus that you are always with us in life, in death, in life beyond death. We are not alone. Loving God, hear these and all our prayers, and in your love, answer. I'm not dissing the sun, but wouldn't that be beautiful on a misty morning? Isn't that amazing? Remind you of clouds and mist, sunny. Life and work. My friends, I have good news. I have good news. We have been in a year and a half of a global pandemic, where we couldn't gather for how long. We still don't have the familiarity of everything we want to do in worship. But the good news is you folks kept the faith. You kept the faith. And I know this because you're here. But I also know this because we found out from the finance team that despite the fact we've been in a global pandemic and not able to gather, we end the year with a little bit of a deficit. So we had some money from the government to cover the rentals, but we have a little bit of a deficit, even though you folks, you kept coming, you kept showing up, you kept committed, you kept your offerings. You should learn how to Zoom. I realize I'm not on the camera right now. You learned how to Zoom, you learned how to watch YouTube worship services, you learned how to connect in different ways. You connected in the garden. Like you folks kept the church community. And so we're actually, this is good news. We're going to be about $5,500 short for the end of the year. But that's extraordinary considering everything that we have gone through in the last year and a half, right? And so I did a little math. And I only did a little math because, I can do the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost, and that's about the limit of my math skills. But I did figure out that $5,500, if 50 families gave $110 between now and Christmas, we break even. We break even in a time when we couldn't gather in a place that we still have to heat, we still have to pay insurance on. It's all the glamorous stuff of ministry, right? This is what we're paying for. We've got to pay the insurance, we've got to pay the internet bill, we've got to pay for the photocopier, we pay for Eve, we pay for me, all those kind of stuff of ministry. But that's not much. And so I have here, I only have $55 because I forgot my money on the kitchen counter, and this is what I had in my wallet. But I'm going to be, so we only need 49 more families to come up with $110, and we've broken even for the year. And if you can't come up with $110, that's okay. Because I know there are people here who will come up with $220. I know, because you folks, someone shows up. I say this all the time. We're invited to a thing with Pringle, and I had to say, you better give me a number, but someone will show up. You'll all be there, and they'll all come to the whole Pringle Lord, and that would be scary. But I know this is such good news because there are so many church communities who are not in this position. That the deficit isn't a little bit that we can make up. So, for the glamorous things like the insurance and the heat that I know you don't believe me is turned on, but it is really turned on. It would be a whole lot colder in here. For the internet, for the phone, for the photocopy, for everything, all those glamorous things of life, $110, we only need 49 more families, and we find the rest of the money that I can committed. Don't ask me to find my checkbook, that's been on for months. And we can do this. So, good news, my friends, good news. Who else has an announcement? I've got a few more. Judy.
I am seeking a person who is not a member of Bible Savings Credit Union to cast a proxy vote on behalf of the church. Most of us are members, and it would need a double vote, so we need someone who is not a member. It's a fairly simple thing. You go on the internet and you cast a vote, and you determine which way our vote is, so you don't have to make that decision. So if there's somebody here who would be willing to do that, we see that in church, I really appreciate it.
Did everybody hear that? Okay.
48 families to go.
Woohoo!
Yay!
Amen, sister.
Today is Halloween. It's a very special day for everybody, but if you want to stop and think, each and every one of you have a very special day once a year. There's a day, there's a month, and there's a year. Now mine happens to be November, which is the 11th month. The day is the 11th day, and it's 1934. So therefore, I know if your math's good, I'm 87. So therefore, I'm not a teenager. I'm not even middle-aged anymore. I am old age. But there's advantages and there's disadvantages. And one of the advantages is this beautiful church. We have to keep it going. We meet here with our families and our friends that are our limit. So therefore, each and every year, we pay $1 for each year. So there's $87 plus extra here. So therefore, we can keep this wonderful building going.
Amen. I think it's a happy birthday. Oh, wait, there's more. Okay, I'm turning the computer. You're 110. Woo-hoo! I've lost track. 46. Robbie.
Anyway, just to let you know, that the December issue of our newsletter, Celebrating Town, is on the drawing board. The theme, which announced today, is eternity. And so you're welcome to submit anything on that theme, or if you have another issue that you're interested in, please do. But we have something a bit different today. At the instigation of Brian Ham over there, we have a Bible story limerick challenge. Bible story limerick challenge.
There once was a prophet from Judah.
Yes. So sharpen your ears, people, and answer the challenge. The due date is November the 26th.
Bible story limerick challenge. Awesome. Do you have an announcement back there, or are you just?
Yeah, we're catching up here. I was late. I reorganized my place. So I've been in motion until 7 o'clock last night.
Okay, so this is I'm going to stand well back here so you can hear me. So this is the first one, and this is hand in hand. So we reopened in August, and we have been open, and we've had some very, very good weeks. Last week, the weather was great, and Friday, the weather was great, so I think everybody took advantage. And so we had a lower day on Friday. However, we have received a check for $1,130 for that.
$1,130.
We will be getting quarterly after that. So,
Awesome.
so that's all we do.
Yeah.
On the other hand, there's lots of specials over there. We have some amazing donations. It's been fantastic. So I hope everybody has a chance to go to that.
Who is wearing something they bought it hand in hand? There's always somebody. There we go. Peg. Yeah.
Friday from 10 until 2. We're open. Back at St. John's Church. So see you there. On the other side, hospitality has been going through this whole change and a year of hope and everything else with what's been going on. I did put a call out there for coffee after church. We have been making coffee. Unfortunately, we have not been getting the roster filled at all. And so there haven't been volunteers who are interested in making coffee. So what I have done is the kitchen has the instructions, it has the coffee, it has all the supplies, and it has everything ready. So whoever shows up at church at 9:30 in the morning can put a pot of coffee on and have it in the breezeway after. If there's no coffee in the breezeway, that means nobody stepped forward. So we're gonna leave it at that. Hospitality will make sure that everything is in the kitchen for you. So,
Thank you.
okay?
Somebody posted a meme on Facebook that had a picture of Martin Luther, the reformer. And it said, I cannot remember the year, but it says 1535, coffee arrives in Europe. 1537, Martin Luther causes the revolution. Beware an over-caffeinated pastor. Who else? Anybody else? Tom.
I just want to let everybody know the headsets are up and working. I tried it out today, it works great. The CGC has a special on.
Turkey.
Just kidding. I heard everything, even the muttering under her breath. There's 3 headsets. I'll put them at the back. So anybody who wants to try them out, you just hit the FM on and just the volume. It's really simple. And it works great. Just another another reminder, the annual congregational meeting, the ACM, is November 21st. I know you're all thinking, man, that's really early, it's normally in February. But it's actually really late. Because of COVID, it was supposed to happen last February. So one of the main orders of business is we have to approve the budget for this year. So I know you're thinking it's all over, but the priming, you're right. So, but the other thing, we're gonna do a little different this year, apart from the budget and some minutes, that sort of thing. We thought rather than the usual report, we're gonna do a slideshow. So we're gonna show some slides of all the things that have been happening over the past month since COVID at the church. So we can just sit and kind of look back and realize all the wonderful things that have been going on in spite of COVID. We'll put the screen down. So to that end, if anybody has any slides or pictures of things that happened over the past, well, we'll do it for a year and a half since COVID started, you can either bring them here to me or email me. And the next Life and Work, I'll make sure my email's in the Life and the Work, and we'll put something together so we can all sit back, relax, and enjoy watching what happened. Thanks very much.
Awesome. November is lots going on in November. I'm going to be away next week, and Brian Young is going to lead us in worship. So thank you, Brian. Excited about that. I always miss because I'm away, so I miss the interesting stuff. We are having the ACM. We are also going to have in November on the 28th, we're going to have an Advent concert. So November 28th is the first Sunday of Advent. So we will have a shorter service. And then we're having our Katarina Devere and Reiki Abna, Eve's the one who's organized all this, are going to do a concert of piano music, duets and solos. And I think Eve and I are going to put in some Advent readings.
We're allowed to if we want to.
Or
They
not.
said that they said it's long enough now as is.
Okay, so we're not going to, it's going to be all music. So this is on November 28th, after the service. So we're going to have a shorter service. We need to clear you all out, because a concert, you need to be double vaccinated. You need to see the passport. I'm going to be the one sitting at the door. Show me your passport. We're asking people to buy tickets, $15 each or 2 for $25. It doesn't have to be your partner. It's whoever you're happy sitting next to, so a bubble buddy. We are trying to keep it small, so we're only going to have 50 people, 50 seats, and we have about 54 seats in here right now, so we'll have some good distancing still. What else do we need to know about that?
It will be cool, dress warmly.
You'll make it just warmly.
It's really important that day for someone to put on coffee.
Yes.
Very important.
Yeah, we're gonna ask you all to go, and so if somebody wants to put the coffee on, you can like huddle over your coffee outside, and then come back for this concert start at 11:30. Okay, so that is November 28th. We'll have more information about that. We were talking about singing. So we talked about singing at the council meeting. It's one of the things we're missing, right? Like one of the things we do in worship is something about drawing breath together and singing. The goal for worship is to be as welcoming to as many people as possible. And the reality is the children are not able to be vaccinated. Some of you are almost ready for your vaccine boosters. Singing is something that is less safe than other things. So for now, we will not have singing in worship. However, my brilliant colleague to my right here came up with an idea.
On Thursday nights, we would normally have choir. I don't feel that it is time yet for choir. I accompany a choir in Duncan and see all the problems they're going through, trying really hard to start back up. Just firms up my resolve that it is not quite the right time to do it safely and comfortably. However, if we're doing shorter amounts of time, 20 minutes perhaps rather than an hour, and we're not sitting and necessarily learning new music and going over it, we are singing our favorite hymns and sharing some community with people we care about, I think we can do that. So on Thursday evenings, I'll be here, about 7:30.
Bring your favorite pieces of music, bring your mask, bring a very warm coat. The windows will be open. We will be spaced out. But for those who are missing singing and missing breathing with your friends, they say that even our heartbeats start telling each other in rhythm when you're singing together and breathing together. If you miss that aspect of it, we will have 20 minutes of singing. You tell me the hymns you like, we'll do it. We'll aim for the gentler hymns. I don't want everyone to come here and start breathing out their most enthusiastic breathing. Not yet. And then hopefully we can share some hot drinks, a bit of camaraderie, and start making space in our lives for the songs we love to sing best.
Sound good? Don't come before 7:30 because the brownies are here. I'm a brownie leader, but
When are we starting, Pastor?
when are we starting? When do you want to start?
This Thursday. Oh.
Joan,
Joan's right. Joan, if you'll be happy to organize hot drinks for this Thursday, I'll organize.
All right.
All
So
right.
this Thursday here, 7:30, bring your vaccine passport.
Bring your vaccine passport.
Bring your mask.
Bring a mask or two. Bring a very warm coat. Bring gloves. Bring a scarf. And be ready to sing.
We're hoping that in December we'll have Christmas caroling outside around the fire. We get a Thursday night that's not pouring. Snowing. Well, snowing's okay. Snowing's okay. It's the rain ones that were. You're a scout. You should know this. You need to practice. You don't have to be now in December. All right. Does anybody else have anything else? May God's blessing be on the life and work of this congregation. What else we got here? A blessing. We're finding our way, friends. We're not there yet, but I think we are trying with care and compassion and open hearts. And I am so grateful for how willing and flexible and just showing up this congregation has been. Because it's not, all of my colleagues don't have the same experience, so thank you. Go out into God's good and holy world. Go out into the things you can see and touch and feel and hear. Tonight, be open to the things that are just beyond our imaginings. And know that in it all, God is with us. We are not alone. May God bless you and keep you. May God's face shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May God look upon you with kindness and bring you peace. And the people of God say, Amen.